once we realize that we're all connected, life becomes very simple, right? Because it's like that golden rule. You treat everyone how you want to be treated. And if we all just did that, like...
It'd be soft.
Yeah, man, like it's kind of like the only rule you need.
I know, but some people are animals in disguise as human beings. Okay, we have another episode of Hotboxin, and today we got Dr. Arvy, pain reliever extraordinaire, and homie Stromy Arjun.
Nice to meet you guys. Pleasure.
How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing
What's
great,
up, Arjun? Hey, Doc, I wanted you to explain to these people what is actually that you do.
Sure. So basically, I'm an anesthesiologist by training, and very curious.
Anesthesia. What's that mean? Something to do with pain?
Exactly. Yeah. So
I knew
doctors that deal with pain typically in the operating room, but we also work in OB, obstetrics when women are delivering.
Tell me about that.
Pain management.
Women reduce.
Yeah. So when women are in labor, they get what's called an epidural. That's one of the...
I know that'll make it easier.
Yeah, exactly. Less painful. Exactly. So, what I've kind of figured out over the last 5 years, and I've been working on really for the last 3 years very, very seriously, is figuring out a way to treat chronic and acute pain in a new way, right? And by that, most injuries that occur are injuries in the soft tissue, as well. Both of you guys know as world, elite athletes. Well, I guess the dog's leaving.
Arjun, hang out with us.
Chill out, buddy.
Argentina.
So essentially, what I kind of figured out is a way to trick the body into thinking it's in the womb. And we do that by taking proteins derived from the placenta and the umbilical cord. And I've come up with a recipe that enables us to trick, when we treated your back, into thinking...
Tell everybody what was wrong with my back.
Yeah, sure. Wrong. So, Mike has a very famous case of what's called failed back surgery syndrome. So you had famously, I think, told the world that in one of your last fights, you were basically fighting with a broken back, right?
People thought I was really playing, but I did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that kind of chronic wear and tear resulted in some nerves being damaged, right? And you had an operation, and the operation, I'm not sure if it helped you at the beginning.
No, it never helped. I have a cage in my back.
Yeah.
And I guess for a while it did because I fought with it. Mm-hmm. For a while it was okay, but the wear and tear just wore it down.
Right. So, before I met you, I had seen, I think in November of last year, there was like a photograph of you going through Miami Airport, and with the wheelchair. And, serendipity brought us together. And I'm just very humbled and happy that the procedure, has worked so well for you and you're not in pain anymore.
Hey, listen, it's a miracle because I didn't know what was going to happen in my life. I was scared that I was going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. Yeah. If things go to your mind when your back hurt, especially when your back hurt, you get so, I don't want to say depressed, discouraged. When your back hurts, you just, there's nothing I can do. I'm useless. That's how I felt. I felt useless. Can't protect my family, can't do shit.
So that's how you guys met? How did you guys meet exactly? Like, how did it go about?
So we actually met through a mutual friend of mine and Kiki. Her name's Sylvia. And she actually, I met Mike as secondarily. I actually met his daughter. I met the whole family at the same time. But, Milan is actualizing her goal of becoming, one of the greatest tennis players ever. She's 14 still, right?
Yes.
So, playing very, very intensely, practicing kind of like her dad.
Very intense.
And, the wear and tear that occurs even at a young age can unfortunately hold people back from their dreams. Like, I was an athlete, wanted to be, in my own mind, I grew up in Louisiana, but, one of the first professional soccer players of Indian descent. Obviously, that didn't work out. But destiny is...
Are you
is
telling me
what it
there's
is.
not too many Indian soccer players?
I mean, I don't know of really any,
Really?
where I think when you think of people from India, probably the first thing that comes to mind is
Cricket?
doctor or lawyer. Yeah, maybe a cricket player. But yeah, so, that wasn't my destiny, but my destiny ended up being, helping other people achieve their dreams and kind of get out of pain. And that's how I met Milan. And, we worked on some areas that were bothering her. And then, Mike wanted to give it a try. And we worked on your back, your hips, and Achilles also.
Yeah, I would have never had attempt to do this if my daughter didn't get so many good results.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, what it is I want to say is that on the camera, so to speak, there's some, you could see the white scar tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he goes in there, it vanishes. You don't see the white anymore. But the white indicates bad inflammation. Is that true?
Yeah, so we use ultrasound,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sound is, an energy of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So dolphins and other animals use sound to actually see through, the water and then see through their surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
So similarly, we're using ultrasound in a way that, you've had many parts of your body ultrasounded when you were playing, right?
For sure,
So
yeah.
we ultrasound an area that a patient is suffering with, and then the first step is to see, can we reconcile or match up that suffering with what the patient is kind of presenting with, right? So if, in Mike's case, I've got this back pain that's preventing me from, working out consistently or training how I want, right? Or living how I want, right?
Yeah.
So the first step was kind of getting him on the table, scanning him, and while we're scanning him, showing him, right, okay, hey, this, is this the area that hurts, right? Because pain, is actually, it's something that all of us deal with, right? And I think one of the things I realized is, and psychedelics really teaches you this, right? Which is, taught me this, which is, we're all the same, right? We're all singular, right? So my pain is your pain is my pain is your pain, right? Vice versa.
Hey, Baz, did you ever know how easy it is to get into an accident?
They aren't planned. It's not something expected. And in many cases, they're unavoidable. Yeah, 1 minute you're going about your day, and out of nowhere, you're involved in a car accident, a work injury, or even a slip and a fall at work. All these make an accident easy to happen.
If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Submitting an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan is so easy.
It's more like using an app than hiring a lawyer. Submitting a claim at Morgan & Morgan is as easy as pretending you didn't see a 5 p.m. email from your boss.
With Morgan & Morgan, submitting a claim is as easy as hit your snooze button on your alarm for the 8th time.
If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/hotboxing or pound 529 from your cell phone. This is a paid advertisement. That's forthepeople.com/hotboxing or pound law pound 529.
So for me, as a clinician trying to help people with, with these problems, the first thing I needed to realize was I need to understand how, what my body is telling me, right? Like what is actually happening when my right hip feels really tight? What is the difference between nerve pain and, pain coming from the fascia, right? That kind of deep, achy pain that you were having all the time. And then, when you told me when you would work out or start to train intensely, you'd get that sharp pain where your back like locks up and then you can't walk, right? What is, what's really coming from there? Arjun making his cameo. So really what you start to understand is that, since all of our bodies are the same, it's my role as a doctor to be a listener and to see, okay, so when somebody's telling me they're hurting, we start to ask, further questions. Okay, what does the pain feel like? And in Mike's case, like what I just said, he had a bit of both. I'm sure sometime in your career you had the same kind of thing happen to you. And then effectively what we set out to do is we set out to trick the body into thinking it's in the womb. So I create what's called a fetal microenvironment, right? So let's say we're working in his back. We cook up this, not cook up, but we have this recipe which consists of proteins derived from the placenta, the umbilical cord. And then I was injecting them all in his back, and not just in a joint, but actually in the soft tissue, trying to remodel that tissue and then provide his body with the materials it needed to heal himself, right? And that's what we've seen. And kind of, my goal as a human is I want to reduce the suffering in this world, right? I mean, I think
Buddha.
yeah, I mean, we're all here for a reason, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and if we're serving a higher purpose, to me, my purpose, and I wasn't as lucky as you two in the sense of, you knew what you knew why you were here, I think, from a very young age, right? It took me, maybe 35 years and a couple of companies, going through medicine, but nothing ever felt really right. But then when I kind of stumbled upon this, it just, everything clicked, and I realized, okay, this is what I'm here to do.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I think it's so cool for you to go through that journey and find that. Was it hard? Was it hard going through all that, like figuring that all out? Like, what were some of the challenges you faced for you to get to where you were?
Oh, I mean, it was, necessity is born out of invention, right? And it was, I'd kind of gone through the highest of highs and then lowest of lows. I was in the middle of selling a business. And that company, whenever you sell a business, it takes 6, 7, 8 months for a deal to close. We thought we were going to have this great financial windfall. Ultimately, nothing happened. Fortunately, I ended up selling it a couple years later. But through that up and down process, I kind of split up from, my business partners at the time, and really was kind of left with this existential question of like, what the fuck am I going to do now? I had been running away from being a doctor because I never felt like it was a right fit for me, because I'm, naturally, I think, a very creative person, someone who likes to ask a lot of questions, and that isn't really looked upon favorably in the traditional rigorous academic setting. So, I had this kind of download that came to me that, look, areas of my body, my shoulder, let's say specifically, where I used to always have this obsessive need to kind of like, adjust yourself, crack your neck, crack your shoulder, etc. I started to think there has to be something wrong with me, because if I only have 100 points of energy, I can't be diverting 20 or 30 points of my total energy to this, musculoskeletal issue. So I started scanning myself, and I kind of had this theory, this download, like, hey, I think the problem is in this fascia, in this connective tissue. And, everybody thought I was fucking crazy. I mean, literally, my parents were like, what are you doing? I'd left like a really, pretty high paying, comfortable job, working at, with a plastic surgeon a couple of days a week, to now not really making any money, just putting it out there, I was my first patient. So I used to do these experiments on myself, like late at night,
Wow.
And I'd have to like psych myself up, like, all right, I'm going to like stab myself in like the knee now or whatever, And after about 3 or 4 times, I quickly realized, like, I got to figure out a new recipe. I need to put some anesthesia in here, because it's not going to be able, if I can't tolerate this, no one's going to like tolerate this, right? We got to make this shit comfortable for people.
Like Dr. Ali was in his room, just like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like some mad scientist, Like, sum up the courage. Yeah. All right, let's go, But look, a lot of trial and error has led me to this point. And one of the reasons why I think all of us find Mike so, inspirational is that when you see people who have gotten, life is like sinusoidal, right? There's ups and downs to everything, right? Whether it's a journey of creating, new technology, or trying to become, an NFL, player, right? Or in your case, obviously, the youngest world champion. When you see people have incredible highs, incredible lows, but then find a way to ride out that low and then reinvent themselves and come out on top again, those are the kinds of stories that give entrepreneurs strength, because during that journey as an entrepreneur, like I think Elon Musk said this one time, a lot of it's like you're chewing glass and just staring into the abyss, like you think, or like in my case, right, like I thought I knew, I felt I had figured something out, but, I wasn't sure, right? So I had to keep like pushing past all the doubt, right, and uncertainty, and sometimes even setbacks when, people didn't get better immediately. It's like I wish I could say that everybody has had a result, so beautiful as yours, where it's like one time in and out, and they've profoundly gotten better. But that's not the case. But
Yeah.
most people now are getting a lot better, and in fewer amounts of cycles. So I'm really happy about that.
So speaking of creativity, you're into music. You're a musician.
Oh shit! Really?
Can you talk about that a little bit?
I am a musician. I'm actually, my buddy Jetpack is here. We make some music together. He's also designed some clothes that we're gonna give to you guys. So yeah, so music for me has been a way of recharging my own spirit, my own
What kind of
energy.
music you playing?
So I play a bunch of different instruments, but I produce hip hop, jazz.
You rap?
I don't rap, no. He does.
Blaze over here for me. We always let people rap here. Every time a rapper comes here, we let him rap.
Jet?
Come on, spit, man. Come over here and spit.
Yeah, well, I'll send you guys some of my stuff. But hey, I got reconnected to music kind of during the pandemic when my practice was doing really well, and then just like all of us, our lives got interrupted quite suddenly.
You
And
look
then,
like a jazz man. You play
yeah,
jazz.
exactly.
You look like a jazz
that's
man.
right, yeah. Keys, saxophone,
Nice.
bass, guitar. Yeah, I'll send you some stuff for sure. But yeah, music it's all about a feeling. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and I think that's one of the most obvious, attributes to it, which is why it brings people together. I remember watching a video of like the riots that were happening. I think it was in New York. All these people were super angry, and then they heard like an old school Biggie song come up, and everybody stopped screaming, and they're just like dancing.
Yeah.
It was like this immediate vibe change, right? And that was
It tames the savage beast. Remember they said music serves the when it tames the savage beast.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man. Music for me is I got a couple interesting projects coming out. Hopefully, we'll iron things out.
Who would you like in your mind your dream collaboration be?
Ooh, I'd have to say Quincy Jones.
Wow.
Yeah, he's Quincy and Herbie Hancock are two living legends.
Wow,
For me.
really?
Yeah.
One day, I don't know what day it was. I was a young kid in my 20s, and I went to my friend's hotel room, big suite, and he had Stevie Wonder and Henry Hancock playing.
wow.
No singing, playing the piano. Somebody else was blowing the harmonica. It's in the house like this.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Going crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well,
Just seeing them together,
Yeah.
together was a mind blower.
That is.
And then in the house, just playing. They started playing together.
Mike, you must know Quincy, right?
Huh?
You must know Quincy,
Yes,
right?
yes. I remember quite a few occasions.
And what was your feeling when you met him?
Really? Cool as a motherfucker. Cool as it's taking cool to the next level.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, cool. That's the word, cool. Cool, very cool.
Yeah, like I'm 41, born in 1982. So coming up for me, there was the three Mikes, right? For my childhood, it was Mike Tyson, Jordan, and Michael Jackson. Right? Like that was like the triumvirate, the trifecta that everybody knows around the world.
That's
I mean,
facts.
playing Punch Out to now being next to you is pretty surreal.
Yeah, it's like it's never happened.
Yeah.
Time just swipes it away from you. Yes.
Does it feel like yesterday, Mike?
Yeah.
Like, can you remember everything so vividly? Like it's happened.
Yeah, I remember everything. I tell people now I don't remember, but really, actually, I remember everything.
I got some questions for you, Mike, if you don't mind me asking.
Hey,
Both of you.
I'm doing the interview here.
All right. Well, let me so what was your relationship to pain, right? Because I mean,
I had pain all my life since I was 14. I had nerve damage. We didn't know. We used to electric shock it. Put electric shock on the nerve. I broke my hand a couple of times. I bust my head open trying to, I don't know what, I was trying to show somebody and I moved, and boom, hit a pipe. You know, one of those.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's cut my face wide open. I was just a mess when I was a kid. I can't believe I became a fighter. I had so many bad accidents, but this is just what I wanted to do.
So how did you deal with that, right? Like being uncomfortable, like do you just, because
you fight with it. As you do, you want something so bad. This is just temporary. You know, I'm gonna get the big war. Did I take care of this?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. That's what it's all about. It's about committing.
Right.
You know, dedicating and sacrifice.
And what about you?
Yeah, I think it's kind of exactly what Mike's saying. You kind of just get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like it just becomes the new norm. Like I remember, like Mike said, he broke his hand. I remember I broke my hand like my last year in college. And I had a broken hand. I had to play with a club because I had to get drafted. Because in my mind, I was like, I gotta get drafted.
Play.
I gotta play. I gotta get drafted. Like I have no other choice. Like obviously, I have my degree to fall on, but like, what's gonna make me more money than playing in the NFL? Like that can help me help my family and do what I gotta do. So it just kind of becomes the new norm. And even like now, you know, knock on wood, I haven't had any crazy injuries. I mean, last year or 2 years ago, Super Bowl year, I tore my pec, Game 7, and that was like another thing that kind of like set me back. But you just kind of just deal with it. So I played last year like healing from it, but I definitely wasn't the same.
Right.
But you just learn how to.
Right.
It just becomes.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, like there's so many people that are suffering with pain in the world, right? I mean, they say there's this very famous Japanese philosopher, Murakami, who said, you know, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And I think pain is something that is part of the human existence. You know, like we all feel it at some point in time. And I think, you know, to those people that are watching, looking for any kind of nugget of inspiration or insight as to, you know, how folks like yourself navigated through chronically being, you know, uncomfortable. Like I know for myself, I noticed that at the point, you know, where my body was least comfortable, I was drinking the most. Yeah. And I've been starting to like think about, okay, you know, like when, and this was like a long time ago, but like you start to ask yourself, why are certain patterns like happening over and over again? You know, and is that because I'm physically uncomfortable? You know, like, or mentally uncomfortable or spiritually uncomfortable, emotionally, you know, like how do we reconcile that, what's going on inside? Because, you know, what's going on inside of us is ultimately what we're projecting to the outer world, right?
Facts.
Like what was going on when Mike was 18, 19, 20, right? Like when, you know, seemingly, right, you had volatile behavior, but could that have been from your body being real uncomfortable from just training and fighting?
No. It was me being very uncomfortable. I wasn't comfortable with all the people coming around me. I come from a place where the only reason somebody wants to be a friend because they want something. So it was really, really weird. So being a younger athlete, you spend a lot of time alone.
Yeah.
Thinking. Who's your friend, who loves you, and all that crap.
Yeah.
But as far as pain concerned, like I was looking at, what was that thing you had, mental?
Yeah, wealth is mental.
Yeah, and that's why I think pain is mental. Pain is mental too. 'Cause you see people fighting with broken arms, broken shoulders. Listen, Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
Disconnect all his ribs and everything. They just wrapped his ass up and he went and crushed everybody. He's wrapped up in tape. He's wrapped up in tape and he's slaughtering these guys.
Yeah.
Wow, or like Tiger, right? I mean, Tiger won on like a bum knee, right?
He slaughters those guys.
Yeah. But I think there's still part of it, you know, so much of it is mental, but like in your case, didn't matter how strong mentally you are, and you're obviously, you know, as strong as it gets, like your body and mind had just weren't playing ball with each other, you know? Like, I mean, I remember when you were in the clinic, you were telling me, you're like, you know, Dr. Abi, I can't train more than 1 or 2 days in a row because then I'm just laid up, you know, recovering. So like, I think there is, and this was one of the reasons why, you know, I'm really grateful for you guys having me on, which like the message, you know, I'm trying to raise awareness is mental toughness is, there's no substitute for that, and you should have mental fortitude no matter what you're doing. But you also have to listen to your body, right? And as athletes, we all are taught to, override that pain, right? Like maybe don't even tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
I know, like in the NFL, right? Like because most guys aren't on like guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
I mean, if you say something, you may get cut, right?
Yeah. Especially if you're not like a big high earner. You have to be very careful. You have to be very careful with when you present stuff, how you present stuff.
Right.
And the goal is, or there's a saying, there's this saying thing, you can't get in the club in the tub. so like you're not gonna be able to be on the team if you're always hurt, if you're always
Like
in the cold tub. If you're always in the tub, like you're always hurt. So it's like, that's really the mindset, That's why at least I spend so much money on my body, at least, so because it's the truth.
Right.
I spend a lot of money on mine as well.
Yeah, like if you're not gonna be in the club, if you're in the tub, you're not gonna get paid. You're not gonna be able to play.
Right.
And I think that is definitely something that the NBA is definitely ahead of for the guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
But it's just different because there's so many guys in football, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And the injury,
Man, you fighting for like say 50 million, right? You can chop their hands off.
Yeah.
Take it after the fight, chop their hands
we'll
off.
reattach it afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll lose a foot real quick. That's facts. So,
What did do you have any thoughts about for guys who are retired? Because I see so many guys retired whose basically their bodies have been destroyed. Like
Their
for sure.
Their brain too.
Yeah, and that's one thing. That's one thing I always give the NFL now, because they're so ahead of it now, like with head trauma and making sure we're not leading with their head and stuff like that. But guys that played in the past, like in the past, like definitely, like you see like how their bodies are so beat up, and not even just their bodies, but their mind too, and how far the game has come, and obviously technology and like stuff that you're doing. That's such a huge help for athletes like myself. And even Mike, like as boxers, because they didn't have that back then.
The most pains. Boxers get, not more than football. Football gets, that's a joke. Football gets, I don't care how, this is different. In boxing, you be so good that you might not get hurt.
Yeah.
Football, you be the strongest motherfucker in the world. You go into the hospital.
Like you're getting in a car accident basically for your job, right?
Isn't that true?
Sure,
I don't care how big or strong you are.
It don't matter how big or strong you are.
Like, to the hospital.
You're always going to end up, like there's always going to be something. You're always going to end up aching somewhere. You're always going to be some sort of pain.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Like now, I'm going to my 6th season in my 2nd year with the Chargers now. And the goal for me is always going in the off season with no pain. Like always making sure like my body, like that's the goal of mine. Like if I have any bit of pain, kind of like what you're saying, like why am I messing? Because I learned after that Super Bowl year that we had, and I got hurt and I tore my pec, I was like, nah, like I'm now like gonna just completely make sure there's nothing that's hurting. Yeah. And always just checking up on the little things, even if it's like a little thing, like a little soreness here, a little soreness there, because it really does mean something. Exactly. It's all connected.
Exactly.
And people don't realize that. Athletes don't realize that, Yeah. So I think it's amazing work what you're doing, man.
Thanks, man.
100%. Because like fighters and football players, so we can die in training.
Right.
We can die in training.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever have like in any of your training session? I mean, but people must have just gotten completely like lit up and seriously injured, huh?
Yeah. Listen, one guy, I was boxing and I dislocated the jaw and he just dropped. The jaw couldn't close his mouth. Couldn't go like that. Sometimes the guy get knocked out cold, have to go to the hospital for a couple of days. It's just scary. You never know. Never know.
What about some of those liver shots?
That's bad too. But liver's bad, but you can rest your liver. But it's just so hard to get those headshots. You don't forget them, especially when you get. Fortunately, I never got in this predicament where I had my brain damage. Because if you look at some boxers' brain, I seen their brain. I seen Ali's brain.
Yeah,
I have such an awesome brain. That's a doctor. Oh man.
Yeah, it's called being punch drunk, right, or something like that.
That too, but there's another word they call it. Same thing. Football is punch
Yeah,
drunk.
Yeah, CTE.
CTE.
Yeah,
Football, they call it CTE.
Yeah, but it's punch drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, chronic traumatic encephalopathy is basically like your head
Head
is
is
just
just spent,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Just
And
got
some of these guys are monsters, 6'7", 3 something.
Ah.
Monsters. Do. I
Right.
don't care who big you are. You think that guy's big, you're gonna kill everybody.
Right.
You got how many guys on the field?
11.
On your team. On your
11
team?
on 11 on defense, 11 on offense.
Yeah.
So imagine, imagine 4 of them packing up on you.
Yeah, no, I
Some
can't.
guys' backs get really bad, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for sure. Because even the training, Mike, is like kind of what you're saying. Like with your sport, right? You're always it's all about your core, twisting, turning, right? Football is the same way. Like my position, where I play defensive line,
Yeah.
so like everything I do is about like getting past the guy. So I'm always positioning, using your hands, like twisting, turning, and all your workouts you're squatting, you're doing explosive movements, cleaning, benching. So it's everything that you're doing is all core. You gotta have a strong core. You have to have your back involved. You have to have your, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You gotta have your knees involved.
Yeah.
So like it's, you're always working, you're always like putting stress on those major bones, major ligaments, so.
I just don't like that pack up shit.
It just builds. Like you said, the inflammation just builds, man, all the time.
And inflammation is, it's our body's response to a change from what's called homeostasis, which means, when your body's in balance. Like our body is basically like, it's like the New York Philharmonic, right? There's all these different instruments that are playing all ideally in harmony, right? And when something gets out of alignment or you get injured, right? That's like the equivalent of maybe the lead violin just goes off the rails and like plays the wrong note too sharp, or too loud. And then you kind of get this real uncomfortable sensation like, wow, what the fuck is that? The song doesn't sound the way it's supposed to, right? And that's what inflammation is. And then there's good inflammation and bad inflammation, right? So when we're healing or like the work that I'm doing, I'm not cutting anything out of anybody and I'm not putting anything in that's not supposed to be there. What I'm really trying to do is provide the body with the right materials and instructions and put it in the best position to succeed, just like a pro athlete, right? Like if the coach's responsibility is to get the right game plan and get the right strategy in place, even like, I'm sure Cuss did with you, right? Like in those early, give you the right strategy when you're training so you have the right mentality and you know what you're doing in the ring, right? Just like in the human body, like you were saying earlier, when we see all of this white, stiff scar tissue on the ultrasound, the whiter it is, inherently that means the less water that's present, right? What do we know about water? Water is biology, is life, so nothing is going to be happening if you have just dry, stiff tissue, and I think like Tom Brady has probably brought this to the forefront of mainstream media with this, with his talk of like tissue pliability, right? So a lot of his training, right, Tom's training has been all focused on keeping the body flexible and really, really hydrated with water, right? So like, for example, like in the knees, when you're younger, you can get hit on either side and your LCL and MCL are okay. Right, you do that at 40, and you're probably ripping everything in your knee. Right,
sure.
Like that's the difference between a 40-year-old and a 20-year-old. Like you're probably actually stronger at 40, but there's just less water in your tissue, so you're stiffer.
I know this. Pain is the most uncomfortable entity in the world.
Yeah.
And imagine being born in 1920, and you got a meniscus.
No, I can't imagine.
No, they'll have 100 guys around you. You're gonna have some. I don't know. They had painkillers back then, or you just drank.
Well, so actually, there's
I know in the Western they just drank. They
definitely drank. I think.
Yeah, drank. Yeah. In Egypt and in Rome, they were using the poppy, right, which is opium, that's where all of the opioid medicines are derived from. And they also use something called willow's bark. So I think since the dawn of time, man has been trying to figure out how to treat pain or how to make ourselves feel better, right? And that's kind of like what my mission is right now, is like how do I get the world to be feeling better? Because the less pain that we're in, like the more productive we are, the happier society is. Like I think you could probably backtrack into a lot of domestic, violence happens when somebody is inebriated, and a lot of times people are getting, fucked up because they don't feel right inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like very few people I think are like, okay, let me, drink a fifth and like go beat my wife or kids, right? They're not setting out to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's a derivative of what they're feeling inside and that frustration, whether it's because they can't perform at work or, God forbid they got laid off or what have you. So, the more we can raise awareness and we can let people know that, like in your case, right, 50% of people who get back surgery, whatever, 40, 50%, like it doesn't work out for them. Then what do you do? Like, are you going to just be living like that the rest of your life? I mean, I think one of the reasons, I'm so happy that as we got together is that I've been able to kind of help you out of that situation, and now you can go back to.
Well, you helped me out quite a bit.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, you love training. Like,
Yeah.
that's part of your routine, right? And it has been since probably you were really, really young. I'm sure both of you, right? So not having that, then, if you can't get that energy out
Clouds
inside,
your
yeah,
mind.
exactly. It messes with your mind. Yeah, and I think, the mind and body are so interconnected, and all of these studies show and validate what we intuitively know, which is, if I'm depressed or if I'm anxious, my body's probably not going to feel good. Now, there's some people that's starting in the mind. There's other people that disturbance is starting in the body. But it's like we definitely know that these two things are interrelated. And something like yoga, right? Like I'm from Kashmir, North India, and yoga was created in India. And what does the word yoga mean? It means union, and what is it joining? In my opinion, it's joining the mind and the body, and it's really like the best exercise or one of the best for the fascia, for the connective tissue. And, to your point, everything is connected, so, your neck may be tight, and now, your left neck may be tight, but that's the root cause of your right hip being out of line. Your right hip's out of alignment. Now you're gonna have knee problems.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, that old school thing. The hip bone's connected to the, it's that you know what I'm saying? It's all
Hip bone
connected
to the elbow.
Exactly. So it's really, looking at things with a fresh new perspective, one that takes into account this singularity that exists, like all of our pain is the same. And as someone who's treating folks, really just listening to people and trying to help them navigate through their situation.
What's the worst experience you had with a back? With pain, yeah.
I think everybody, I don't want to say anybody is worse than anybody else because everybody's pain is their own suffering,
I've seen somebody, his spine is like cracked.
Our mutual friend, Tony Robbins, when I met him, Tony's just been putting so much stress on his body for so many years that, when I met him and crossed paths with him, his body was really in a tough situation. So, I've been very fortunate to work with him over the last several years and really kind of get him pain-free. But
I know he's very grateful.
yeah. Well, look, I'm grateful that, people are, kind of trusting me to help them through these very serious situations. And I just feel humbled that, it's working, right? Because
I had a lot of back injuries and stuff, and I was hesitant until my daughter took her. So,
yeah. And how's your daughter doing?
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So do you work with any active NFL players or athletes now?
I work with a lot. I don't want to say any of their names,
yeah.
But yeah, because, interestingly in sports, what I've learned is that the team doctor and the team's interests aren't always aligned with the player's interests. And this is something that I don't think those of us who are not pro athletes, we can't appreciate, right? Like, because we're not in that club, right? But you start to understand, like, I've had several guys come pass through, and one, they're like, we don't necessarily want the team to know because I'm trying to, sign a new contract. And it's almost like they see you guys in some ways almost like a car, right? Has a car been into an accident before? Mm-hmm. If it has, doesn't matter if the car's running perfectly fine. Like something maybe could be wrong, you know, and
Yeah.
then like maybe we don't want to give this guy his
That
money.
much money,
yeah,
or
or
they try to
whatever
cut
it is.
it, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So what I've seen is that, you know, I think more and more people are starting to, maybe partly because of the internet, hopefully partly because of shows like what we're doing right now, information and new information is accessible. And, you know, I know there's probably, you know, I'm hoping a lot of people that watch that are like, okay, hey, look, my back's been killing me, my hip, my shoulder. I've tried this, I've tried that, but I haven't tried, you know, this new approach. Is this something that could help me? So, you know, we've had great success, you know, with lots of people in kind of in baseball, basketball, football, soccer, you know, track and field. Haven't really gotten to hockey that much yet. A lot of entertainers who also I didn't appreciate the wear and tear that it takes, you know, demands on their body.
Hockey players need them the most.
Hockey players, yeah. Action movie stars.
Yeah.
You would never think, you know,
Yeah.
they're doing like 200 takes of like this,
For sure.
you know, this fight scene. And, you know, they're just all
The
fucking
hockey players just need a dentist. That's what they need. They don't need no doctor. They need a dentist.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, yeah, man, I'm really happy that almost everybody's gotten really, really well.
Yeah, I think what's the coolest thing about what you're doing is the fact that you're using the placenta.
Yeah,
right?
proteins, yeah.
Yeah, proteins of that, and
I heard about that before.
that's huge.
Some people eat it.
Yeah. I used to think that was crazy until I went down this rabbit hole. And then I realized if you look at nature, you know, a lot of animals will eat the placenta, like a lot of the mothers will eat the placenta
Yeah.
after because it replenishes their iron stores,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and obviously does a lot of other things as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a good idea. I think they've had some studies that show that it reduces the postpartum blues, you know, so when mothers deliver.
You know, if you take I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
If you take young mice platelets and put in old mice platelets, it reverses their age.
The aging, yeah.
Yeah. That's why back in the old days, witches would take a bunch of young virgin girls and bathe in their blood. And they believed that brought them back to the youth.
Yeah,
Witches, queens, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
got older and started killing virgins and
Yeah.
bathing in their blood.
I think in South America they would sacrifice, you know, a lot of child sacrifice, probably for that same reason.
Yeah, and our urine is very potent too.
Yeah.
You know, urine used to be put on warts. It was used to put on warts. Warts would disappear.
Yeah.
Our body is just one big medicine cabinet.
100%. And then that with nature, and you know, you got to think. There's this, I don't want to say obsession, but it's you know, human longevity, right? And regenerative medicine is now really kind of coming into the forefront, and people are kind of trying, you know, everything from injecting younger people's blood, you know, because they've shown in some animal models that works. What we do, you know, at my clinic, which is called Vitruvia, and we have offices in New York, in LA, and then Miami. We also, you know, use IV amnion, right? So this is like, so we don't give stem cells to anybody. What we're doing is delivering these placental proteins, which turn on the language inside of the body, turn on, right? Because we have billions of stem cells inside of us. But like the trick is, how do you turn them on, right? And you turn them on by speaking the cellular language, and that's what we're doing, right? So we're not giving you any cells, but we're giving the parts of speech kind of that are enabling the three of us to speak and, you know, conversate fluently. That same thing inside of your body. Because like how I think about it is, you know, let's say you get injured, right? That's like the equivalent of being in a really bad classroom, you know, like chronic injury. You know, you got cells that are screaming at one another. The teacher, there's no clear lesson plan, you know, so what's the probability that, you know, something good is going to come out of that, right? So it's why I don't really believe in stem cells as much, because you're just injecting cells. If you think of cells as a really smart young kid, you know, and this area of inflammation as like a dysfunctional classroom, what do you think the higher probability is? Putting two kids into a dysfunctional classroom, or changing the classroom completely, right? Changing the lesson, changing the conversation. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? Like I could have just injected some stem cells in your back, but if I didn't have the intention of, I need to break up the scar tissue. I need to open up like his lymphatic pathways so, all of the swelling and cellular debris can drain out. I need to free up these nerves that have gotten stuck or ensnared in scar tissue. We would have had I think a average to below average result. Instead, we didn't use any stem cells, and we don't use any painkillers or any steroids, right? This is literally just, how can I trick the body into healing the way a baby grows? Because clearly, at least my humble opinion, the secret to living forever and healing ourselves is inside of every woman, right? Inside of that placenta. Because we're all here because we're able to be grown up inside of our mothers, right? Yeah. So if you can go from a sperm and an egg, to a 20-pound or to a 10-pound baby in 9 months, and building all of that complicated machinery, I mean, that's insane if you think about it.
I was a 10-pound baby, by the way.
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. Exactly.
I think human beings became too civilized, because by being too civilized, we look at our natural medicine as being something disgusting, like the placenta or something.
Yeah.
Urine or something. We all think, oh, that's disgusting. I would never do that.
Yeah.
And when we first started, that's all when creation of human beings first started, that's what we did. We'd eat each other, drink each other's blood, that's just what we did. We would never do that. Now, some tribes do, but we would never think about doing that now. It's something that we used to do every day.
Yeah.
They go, another motherfucker, let's get him. That's how they did.
For sure. But I think
some of them got away sometimes. He's like, woo. Yeah.
Also, I think, the medical, pharmaceutical, modern industrial complex that derives its revenue off of patenting medicines, it's hard to patent a placenta,
Yeah.
It's easier to patent, one drug, one molecule. But I think that's why we're starting to see that a lot of these drugs, I crack up, Melissa, my girlfriend, and I will be watching TV late at night. You see an advertisement for, I don't know, some drug for psoriasis. But then one of the side effects will be like,
your mother might die.
Exactly.
You may die. You may die.
Leakage, this, that, and you're like, yo.
You may have a heart attack.
I'll save my itchy skin. I don't want my
What's it called? Leaky gut.
Exactly.
And they be saying that hella fast too, like, you may die, you might die.
Exactly.
What? Did you say I might die?
You get cross-eyed, blah, blah, blah.
Internal bleed.
Go You're like, no, I'll pass.
Go right to the hospital if you get internal bleed.
Yeah. So it's that, I think when you give that orchestra, the instructions of, let's say, that drug is a trumpet, and you say, all right, I just want a lot of trumpet. Or you remember that Saturday Night Live commercial, that skit with Christopher Walken with I need more cowbell.
Oh, yeah.
Every time, I need more cowbell, right?
Yeah.
If you give too much of one thing, it's probably going to throw the rest of everything out of balance. And that's what I really believe, that our body is this infinite teacher, right? And we have to really look to nature for inspiration, as we try to evolve medicine to a place where more and more people can live a better, healthier life. Because look, the three of us are fortunate, right? But imagine if we were someplace in India, Africa, any place where, if my shoulder hurts, I can't work out on the farm, and or the field, or I can't do my job. If I can't do my job, my whole family's gonna starve.
Yeah.
And that's a different set of situations. But their pain is our pain, is your pain is my pain, right? It's all the same, So I really, that's kind of really where my head's at, and where I'm trying to, apply all my energy is just.
I think you'll do so good.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. I
So
really
well.
appreciate it.
For sure.
I really, really
I think
appreciate
it's
it.
amazing. And I think
That's
it's
the miracle. I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool. Sometimes, listen, if your back hurt, you can't love your wife, can't play with your kid.
Yeah.
It's fuck.
I got to get you in the clinic, man.
Yeah.
Scan you up.
I think it's amazing though, because I remember didn't you have a cane, Mike? Right? Yeah, Michael. Yeah, I remember that.
Listen, you know what? The only good thing about being in a wheelchair, you go right in first class, right? Boom, go in front of everybody in the airport. Bye, all right, first class.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom's dealing with some sciatica right now, so we're gonna have to fly her down to Miami. But we were actually telling her that, we're like, look, Mike was dealing with it. I mean, just listen to what he said. You're going to just skip all the lines,
Yeah.
get straight on the plane, get off the plane.
Skipped all the fucking
We'll pick
lines.
you up.
Yeah,
and that's
and
a
they
wrap.
got wheelchair right in the door. As soon as you get out, they hold you. You get in the wheelchair. Boom.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you said too much of anything isn't good for you. Because my dad always used to tell me.
Yeah.
Growing up, he used to be like as a kid, he'd be like, listen, Bash, you gotta understand, man, too much of anything ain't good for you. And it's so funny.
Too much love is worse than no love.
Yeah, like too much of anything
Yeah.
ain't good for you.
Too much love is worse than no love.
Yeah, for sure.
It's amazing. No, how that even works with the body and
Yeah.
everything, and the proteins and all that stuff. Damn.
Just being balanced.
So what else is it that you want to go to the next level of medicine?
So, for the last, I've been working on this now 5 years. The first 2.5, 3 years were kind of in secret, just making sure I actually had something, right? So I've treated thousands of people at this point. So now, kind of this show is really a marker of now switching to offense and raising awareness about what we're doing, right? Because we have more than enough proof. We've treated so many different people and help them in so many different ways. Now it's time to really kind of raise the awareness so we can create hopefully this zeitgeist, this change in the modern human existence, and one that isn't as plagued by chronic pain and suffering, and we can just live healthier, happier lives where we can actualize what are our dreams. Like, I mean, Milan, right? Like, we want to see her achieve her goals, right?
Yes.
And we don't want her goals to be hindered by her arm hurting or her back hurting. Like that shouldn't be the reason why you don't get to at least try to achieve your dreams. So that's really, from a personal standpoint, myself and the other Dr. Amy is the other physician that works with me. We're very focused on, at a personal level, helping people actualize and achieve, the best versions of their life, whether it's your daughter, whether it's a 55-year-old, CEO that wants to play tennis, whether it's whomever, right? Like, we all have the right to live our best life.
For sure.
And that's really what I want to achieve.
You've done that with me and my daughter.
Thank you, man. I'm super happy.
Need to get you back in there.
That's right.
You'll be so
Get me in
happy.
trouble, guys. Come on.
So Vass, it's WADA approved, right? We just got approved by the UFC. This is all
The whole football
it's
team to him.
It's basically like PRP, right? PRP is approved,
Okay.
right? But it's PRP, but to the next level.
Oh,
I
wow.
love PSU.
Yeah. So like stem cells are probably like you guys are able to do it. Maybe like the team doesn't give you your blessing, but like you're not doing anything illegal. PRP, I'm sure now at this point, team doctors are even doing that.
I used all that stuff before it was all legal.
Yeah, it's all.
I plead the
legal.
fifth.
Yeah. Okay.
I plead the fifth. So
Listen,
psychedelics.
If you don't do psych, talk about that.
Oh yeah. Let's
Psychedelics.
talk about
Psychedelics. So psychedelics are a huge part of your
Huge part of
journey,
my
right?
life. Yeah.
Want to talk about that? How that get involved?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so I haven't done the toad yet. Hopefully we can do it together.
Yes.
But I have done mushrooms in the past, and they were incredibly, probably the most powerful teacher, right, that I could have ever had, because not only did it help enhance my creativity, but actually, again, shout out to my girlfriend Melissa. She took me on a journey when I was living in Los Angeles that enabled me to kind of get to the root source of some childhood trauma that I had actually completely forgotten about. But that trauma was holding my life, back in a profound way.
Wow.
Yeah, and that trauma was in India, like, so in a lot of Asian countries, and they do this in the West also, like in Germany. I'm a left-handed person, and my grandparents, they weren't doing this to be mean, but like basically they forced me to become right-handed. So like, they tie your hand up to your, exactly.
No, that's I know.
Them boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want you because they think eating with your left hand isn't
Unclean, or it's like
unclean.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I know.
Even in Latin, right? Like left is sinistra, right? Right is dextra. So there's this conception that left-handed people maybe were not as conformative, like as right-handed people, but that was something that really
In ancient times, left hand was the devil.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was something that I didn't realize was having such a profound impact, on my life, which was, realize it. But if, at 2, 3, you're kind of getting rewired into thinking like your first natural response to something is the wrong one, right? Because like, I want to grab those blueberries with my left hand, but they want me to do it with my right hand. It almost like rewires you to kind of second guess yourself. And even further, I felt like for the longest time, I was like 2 people inside of one person, kind of like, fighting back and forth. So I never really felt at peace at all, both physically or mentally. So psychedelics have kind of like brought me back, like kind of helped realign. Another thing I noticed, which was really fascinating, which is, the mycelium, right? So like the actual network is very similar to the way neurons are constructed, right? And we know that while taking psilocybin, that activates, there's no more powerful a substance on Earth that's what's called synaptogenic. So it causes new brain connections to happen. There's nothing that exists in the world that's more powerful than magic mushroom psilocybin for creating new neural connections, right? Which is why it's so powerful in helping people deal with, any past like issues, emotional, physical. But I would notice when I would take them that I would get this desire to like kind of adjust my body, and I'm like, fuck, I feel like my like connective tissue is like getting turned on. It's like alive, like not in that way, but maybe that way also. But
I don't know. Ask your girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. She's smiling.
She's smiling.
She's smiling.
Yes.
All right, yeah, we'll take it as a yes. But so you really start to think, all right, there's something deeper going on here, and the way mushrooms actually communicate with one another is in a very similar fashion to the way our fascia does, which is it's called piezoelectricity. So like if I push on your leg, that pressure is going to cause a chemical gradient change, and that causes a flow of information. It's like a signal. This is like actually why things like massage, things like the work we do, yoga, Pilates, what have you, they actually help reorganize your body, right? Your cells know like how to line up and orient themselves based off of these piezoelectric fields. So if your hip is in the wrong place, have you ever noticed how then some people are bow-legged?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like when your hip gets pulled too far forward, then your knee is outside of your hip, and then over time, the bone like remodels and kind of becomes bow-legged because it's remodeling according to this piezoelectric line that's now been shifted because of the alignment. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be here without them. I believe that, everyone should at least try them, obviously, in a responsible way, I don't think there's anything like there's no such thing as a bad trip. I think it's a teacher, right? So even when I had this like really dark experience, and it was the craziest shit I've ever felt in my life. I mean, it was like, I don't know if you guys ever watched like Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, yeah, I grew up watching that.
All right, I was like a fucking Super Saiyan, like all this energy was like shooting out of me. I was like, dude, the entire, you would have thought like a bomb went off inside of me, and then probably 12 hours after that, as I was starting to reintegrate, I thought to myself, like, man, this is like some darkness that I've never felt before. I got to go back in there, right? So I waited a day, then, Melissa redosed me again, with like, I think it's not even a hero's dose, it's like a legend's dose or whatever, right? It's a lot. Like,
that's what it means. Is that what it means?
No, I mean, it's more like, I think we took, like 15, 16 grams, like a lot.
So that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, most people take like 3.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Y'all were in it to win it.
We went deep.
Y'all were in it to win it.
We
Wow.
went deep, deep space. Because look, I didn't know, and it was really interesting. So the first time, she just kept giving us, glasses because we drink the tea. We don't eat it because it upsets our stomach. So I'm laying on the floor and I'm stretching, because I had just like injected the back of my head or whatever, maybe the day before, and I'm stretching. I feel this like pop, and I get up and I go to the bathroom, and it was like Dragon Ball Z, man. Like everything was spinning around me. I felt like all of this kind of like pain.
This is the second time?
This was the first time.
This is the first time.
All of this stuff coming out of me, and I think it was precipitated by like popping this thing in my neck, and then I went back a day later. I wasn't stretching as much, but the same kind of darkness. It actually became clear. Like the first time, I didn't know who had done it. I don't want to say who had done what to me, but like it was like a hazy image.
Yeah.
And then the second time, it got like clearer and clearer.
Like a vision.
Yeah, like a vision, like a clear vision. Yeah, of what happened. Yeah. And then it took me like a year to reintegrate.
Mike, do you feel the same way when you take shrooms?
When I take shrooms, shit start moving. Those things start closing.
Yeah.
The fighters will start fighting, actually moving and fighting each other. It's just a trip. Some people look like demons and shit.
What happens when you close your eyes?
Wow, a lot of electricity going.
Right, exactly. Exactly. It's that energy, man.
I try not to close my eyes. But do you think you close your eyes, shit's going down?
Yeah.
Has it helped you as well? Like,
I think so. Before I did that stuff, before I did my toe and all that stuff, I was a full-blown junkie and alcoholic. I was a mess, man. You have no idea. I was a mess. Never coming home, hanging out all day, all night.
Yeah.
It's a maniac.
So it put you at peace? Kind of helped you put you at peace?
I don't know if it put me on peace, but it put me on the right road to find peace.
You kind of realize that everything is connected.
Yeah, I realized this is just another part of life that we...
Yeah.
Like death is another part of life we never experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once we realize that we're all connected, life becomes very simple, right? Because it's like that golden rule. You treat everyone how you want to be treated. And if we all just did that, like...
It'd be soft.
Yeah, man, like it's kind of like the only rule you need.
I know, but some people are animals in disguise as human beings.
No, you're right.
And they don't get it. They just don't get it. How many times you show it to them, explain it, they just don't get it because they don't want to get it.
No, you're right.
Well, I'm pretty sure Mike has something for you.
Oh.
Listen, Abby, we have a surprise for you.
All right.
Okay. First of all, it's going to be a little libation here.
Okay.
Beautiful weed plate. And you would take stuff like this. Well, not like this, it goes in your refrigerator. But stuff like this, put it in that plate. Just take it out, put it on that plate.
Okay.
Break it up. Just in case you want to smoke, try
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
These are
The ears.
gummies extraordinaire. You're going to get
The mic bites, yeah, I
You're going
heard.
to get so blasted.
I love it.
And we got something else. Everybody.
Okay, left-handed. See? Original lefty.
Yep.
I got that.
All right, listen. These are #1 in Zoomies. They're selling off the roof. The guys from Zoomy was here to thank me for having such a magnificent product. That my wife, Keish, right? Lakia Tyson, Twinique. And this is one shirt.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Zoomies.
We have some stuff for you as well.
We got some swag.
Let's see what we got here.
It's my boy Jetpack Jones. So this is Wealth is Mental.
Oh, this is dope.
This is for you.
This your thing, right? The
Yeah.
mental wealth.
And we'll get you your size as well.
Definitely.
Wealth is your first
This
health.
is for
All right.
this is for Kiki.
Wow, Kiki.
Here you go.
Think you can fit this, mama? Kiki.
And yeah, you're double XL, so we'll get you yours. Yeah.
Yeah, 2X.
We got you.
Triple. Big mama.
Triple.
Nah, I ain't triple. I'm 2X.
We got you.
Okay.
Those are dope.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, you got to ask your
Health
famous.
is mental.
Wealth is mental.
Wealth is good too. Wealth is your first health. Wealth is mental.
Mike, you have to ask your famous question.
Brother, this is going to be good for you too.
Okay.
It's, I don't know, tons of millions of people watching this stuff.
Yeah.
Tell them who you are, how to get in touch with you, and if you're in any pain, you can relieve it.
Okay. So Dr. Abhinav Gautam, inventor of the relief procedure, founder of the Vitruvia Clinic, and if you're in pain or suffering, and hopefully trying to find answers, you can just look us up, www.vitruvia.co. or just type in my name in Google.
Vitruvia. What's Vitruvia?
So Vitruvia, one of my inspirations is Leonardo da Vinci. So the Vitruvian Man. So Da Vinci was such a polymath, artist, sculptor.
He's a
scientist.
warmonger.
Yeah, he was a.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
He liked to build weapons to kill
Yeah,
people.
yeah, exactly.
people,
Yeah, he's got like all those machines, like those
Yeah.
weapons that he designed. Yeah. So he's one of my idols. So I named the clinic after him. I think if they just search Vitruvia on Instagram, they'll find it.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Healer extraordinaire.
Thank you, guys.
Abby.
Appreciate it.
Yes, there you have it. It's Mike Tyson. I'm Bash, and we have Dr. Avi here. We're out of here.
Cheers.
The obster.